Our call to worship this morning is from Baha'i writings, and this is from the writing of Abdul Baha, servant of the glory, is what his name means, Abdul Baha. The darkness of this gloomy night shall pass away. Again, the sun of reality will dawn from the horizon of the heart. Have patience, wait, but do not sit idle. Work while you are waiting. Smile when you are wearied with monotony. Be firm while everything around you is being shaken. Be joyous while the ugly face of despair grins at you. Speak aloud while the malevolent forces of the netherworld try to crush your mind. Be valiant and courageous while those around you are cringing with fear and cowardice. Do not yield to the overwhelming power of tyranny and despotism. Serve the cause of democracy and freedom. Continue your journey to the end. The bright day is coming. The nucleus of the new race is forming. The harbinger of the new ideals of international justice is appearing. The trees of hope will become verdant. The copper of scorn and derision will be transmuted into the gold of honor and praise. The arid desert of ignorance will be transformed into the luxuriant garden of knowledge. The threatening cloud shall be dispelled, and the stars of faith and charity will again twinkle in the clear heaven of consciousness. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning and happy Mother's Day. I'm the Reverend Jeremiah Kalendae, and I serve this congregation as its developmental minister. It is a joy to be joining you in worship this morning. We light our flaming chalice, symbol of our liberal faith, with these sacred words from Baha'u'llah, from the writings of the Baha'i faith. If you have a chalice at home, you are invited to light it at this time. Blessed is the spot, and the house, and the place, and the city, and the heart, and the mountain, and the refuge, and the cave, and the valley, and the land, and the sea, and the island, and the meadow, where mention of God hath been made, and divine praise glorified.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Santa Monica. I am Kikanza Nuri Robbins, your worship associate. Reverend Jeremiah and I and our entire worship team are all delighted to be joining you in our online sanctuary this morning. If you are new to our community, please know that while our building is closed, we are still here. There are many ways to learn more about us and become involved. We offer programs to serve the needs of our congregation and to be of service to the larger world. If you're interested in learning more, join us for our visitor meetup after the service. Unitarian Universalism is not defined by creed or dogma, but is guided by principles that affirm the worth and dignity of every person. and encourages an individual search for truth and meaning. We honor the wonder of existence and believe that we are all connected to each other and to the interdependent web of life. Our beliefs are drawn from scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience, and ancient tradition. We are an open, affirming, and welcoming congregation. We are diverse in backgrounds, social locations, gender identities, ethnicities, sexual orientations, spiritualities, and philosophies of life. We are united in our desire to create a diverse, beloved community, to live the principles of our faith, and to serve the wider world. As we begin this morning, we want to acknowledge that our church building and the homes of most of our members are on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Tongva people, who lived here and cared for this land for thousands of years. We recognize and mourn the harm inflicted on the indigenous people of this country. We lift up their grace, their resilience, and their relationship with these sacred lands. We have many interesting activities going on at our church. Even though we are not in the building, the people from the building are having activities through Zoom primarily all over town. So I'm offering a leadership training class through Zoom over the next couple of weeks. You are welcome to join us. Even if you weren't there for the first or second time, you are welcome to drop in at any point, because the lessons are bracketed so that you get something kind of like Law and Order. You can watch it year after year after year and follow the characters and what have you. But if you just drop in for 1 hour, you're going to get a whole story start to finish. And that's how the classes are. Other things that are going on, Dining for Dollars, our major fundraiser, is going to be happening this spring, May 16th through May 23rd. We're looking for people to host Zoom-friendly events and put them up for bid. And of course, we want everyone to bid on the events on May 16th and May 23rd. The other thing that's coming back is Camp de Benneville Pines. So save the date. Our beloved UU camp will be open this fall. September 17, 18, and 19 are the dates for this church to be up in the mountains. So stay tuned for more details and for ways to get involved. For more information about these activities and about other things that are going on in the church, ways to get involved, you can visit our website at uusm.org or our online newsletter at news.uusm.org. Today, join us after the service for our Zoom coffee hour. So we all start in one Zoom room, and then we break up into small groups. So new members will go to a group. People who want to talk about the sermon will go to a group. People who have other discussion topics or meetings will go to the group. If you want to have a conversation with someone that you haven't seen in a while, you can ask for a private room and you can go to the group. So we are trying to accommodate all the needs that we have in our community as we continue to worship in this virtual manner. So please come join us after the service and let us know how you are doing. So we will post the links below your screen, as well as in our UUSM Facebook page. So there'll be a couple of ways to find it. And there'll also be an email address. You can send a quick email and someone will respond to you with the link to get into the Zoom room. We look forward to sharing with you after the service. We really hope that you will join us.
Dauna El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia.
Love is the doctrine of this church.
Buscar la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es la oración.
The quest for truth is its sacrament and service is its prayer.
Vivir juntos en paz.
To dwell together in peace.
Buscar el conocimiento en la libertad.
To seek knowledge in freedom.
Servir a la humanidad en comunión.
To serve humankind in fellowship.
Así es como convenimos unos a otros.
Thus do we covenant with each other.
From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land by every tongue.
Good morning. This morning we're going to continue our story that we started last week. Well, we started with the instructions last week. So to recap, we decided that this month we're going to tell a story together. And so I asked everyone to send me some suggestions for characters, places, and times. I got quite a few and I put them all in a hat and I pulled some out. And so what we have for characters is a troop of brownies, as in the tiny Girl Scouts, and a troop of Cub Scouts, the tiny Boy Scouts. They are in a magical tree, and the time is the middle of summer. So now we know who, we know where, we know when. But now we gotta tackle what happens in the middle of the story, right? The story itself. Now, to make an interesting story, you need a conflict. Now, when I say conflict, I don't mean fisticuffs. When I say conflict, it's one of three situations. Two people or groups want two different things. Two people or groups want the same thing, but only one can have it. Or two groups or people want different things, but they need to first either do or get the same thing, and there's only one of that thing. So that's our job for next week, is knowing that we have brownies, Cub Scouts, and a magical tree in the middle of summer. What kind of conflict could these two groups have? What could they both want, but have to do the same thing to get first? What could it be that they want to do two different things, but that somehow is conflicting with what the other group wants? And also, there's something else that goes into conflict. Motivation. Why do you want what you want? So, if we decide that the Boy Scouts want to climb the tree, and the Girl Scouts want to pick flowers at the bottom of the tree, and then build a ladder with those flowers to get to the top, well, we've got to decide, why does each group want that? Why do the Boy Scouts want to climb the tree? Why do the Girl Scouts want to build a ladder to get up the tree? Motivation. So not only do you need to come up with a conflict, but a reason why they want what they want. And send those to me. And we'll put them in a hat, and we'll pull out some more, and then we'll build the next part of our story. So remember, brownies, Cub Scouts, and a magical tree in the middle of summer. I'll see you in my inbox. Bye.
May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing awake the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night. May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn, to sing awake the light, and softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles
to sing awake the light,
ever
softly serenade the stars, ever dancing circles in the night.
Now we enter into the time in our service for contemplative practice. I have a few pastoral announcements as we begin. On this Mother's Day, let us think of those mothers who are no longer with us and those who have lost mothers this church year. May we invoke the spirits of these mothers in our hearts, and may their memories be with us as blessings from the heavens. It is with sadness that I share that Frank Daly, the brother of our dear Pat Gomez, died this past week. Let us lift up Pat, her brother, and their family and friends in the light of beloved community. Pat, we hold you in the silent sanctuary of our hearts this morning. Now you're invited to sit comfortably and in quietness, to center yourself. I invite you to bring your awareness to your breath and to the beating of your heart. Allow yourself to dwell within the serenity of your spirit. O beloved Spirit of life, we gather together each week in our homes with our flaming chalices burning brightly, to weave together beloved community, to inspire our hearts and minds, and to be with each other through life's trials and life's joys. Each week we open our hearts to each other and to the wider embrace of humanity. Help us to be faithful to our highest callings and to the responsibilities that liberal religion has placed before us. We gather this springtime in the sacred month of Ramadan, in the midst of celebrating the life and ministry of our dear Reverend Ernie Pipes. We pray that we might be guided by our noble past, and that we might pursue new horizons on our quest for truth and justice. We gather also in the time of Mother's Day, and we remember and honor all those who mothered us and our world. May we be inspired by the love of mothers and find renewal and strength in it. Let us take a moment to bring to mind all of the mothers of our lives, and to bless them and to receive their blessings. We are so blessed. Let us lift up our siblings in India and their sufferings as the pandemic surges beyond control. We wish for them safety and health and healing. We lift up our siblings of the Islamic faith who are being brutally oppressed in China and Myanmar this Ramadan, and we pray for their freedom to practice their religion in peace. We also celebrate with our Muslim siblings who will be ending the month of Ramadan this week, and we wish them all a blessed Eid. We lift up our siblings of the Baha'i faith who are persecuted in Iran and elsewhere for simply practicing their convictions. We hope for their embrace and loving kindness by all. May our liberal Unitarian Universalist faith be a place for the meeting of differences, for diverse religious encounters, for learning and for growth, and for sharing the universal truths of religion. Lastly, we lift up any who are suffering or in pain in our community. We lift up anyone who is lonely or anxious, fearful or depressed. Know that we care about you and we love you and that you are not alone. May this springtime brighten all of our spirits and restore us in this time of so many challenges. and help us to rejoice in the gift of life this day and every day. Amen. Let us meditate in the beauty of silence together for a few brief minutes, beginning by returning to an awareness of your breathing and the beating of your heart. I will ring a bell to begin and end our time for silent meditation. All world religions foresee a future golden age which is ushered into being by a promised one. The Hindu religion believes that God will incarnate as the horse-riding and sword-wielding Kalki to defeat the forces of ignorance in the world. The Jewish tradition believes the Anointed One will come to the earth as a righteous king who will establish divine law and justice. The Christian tradition hopes for the return of Jesus, peace be upon him, and the triumph of good over evil. Similarly, Islam also believes that Jesus will return, aided by a mysterious imam in a final cosmic battle. Buddhists hold that Buddhas have been incarnating since the beginning of time and will continue to do so to establish the Dharma. Maitreya is envisioned as the next Buddha who will restore righteousness throughout the world. Now, in the academic study of religion and theology, we call the study of these claims the field of eschatology, or the study of final things. In our liberal faith tradition, we've tended to embrace a realized eschatology that emphasizes the importance of the here and now rather than some indeterminate point in a future golden age. The liberal Christianity, which gave birth to Unitarian Universalism, taught that the religious path was more about bringing heaven to earth than getting into heaven after death. You may remember the Lord's Prayer, which petitions, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." The Baha'i faith believes that we are on the precipice of that golden age, and it makes some extraordinary claims about the end times prophecies of the major world religions. In the middle of the 1800s in Persia, a merchant by the name of Said Ali Muhammad Shirazi, began preaching that he was the Bab, or the gate, through which a new messianic figure would enter the world. Babism grew as a progressive religious movement, but it was severely persecuted by the authorities of the Islamic Orthodoxy. The Bab was tortured and imprisoned alongside thousands of followers, but he refused to renounce what he believed he was called by the divine to proclaim. He was eventually murdered by the religious authorities. In his wake, a spiritual leader emerged who claimed to be the prophesied Messiah, and he was given the name Baha'u'llah, which means the glory of God. Baha'u'llah claimed to be the fulfillment of the eschatological prophecies of all the world's major religions. He claimed to be the second coming of Jesus, the Jewish Messiah, the Kalki, and the Buddha, all in one person. He taught that religion was a progressive series of revelations in which the same God spoke through all of the various religions of the world to meet different needs and different circumstances in different times. He claimed to be the latest manifestation of the divine and articulated principles that he believed would unite the people and religions of the world. He, like his forerunner, the Bab, was brutally persecuted and imprisoned by the authorities for his claims. Baha'u'llah's message echoed the central teachings of the world's religions and explained that the world's religions were not meant to be adversarial, but pieces of a greater harmony, of a grand divine design. He taught that the divine had always been communicating with humanity through messengers that began with Abraham, but also included Krishna, Moses, Zoroaster, the Buddha, Jesus, and Muhammad, serenity and blessings upon all of them. He claimed that the divine formed a covenant between each messenger and their people with specific rules and practices for each community. He wrote in the epistle of the Son of the Wolf, "Utterance of God is a lamp, whose light is like these words. Ye are the fruit of one tree and the leaves of one branch. Deal ye one with another with the utmost love and harmony, with friendliness and fellowship. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. And the earth is but one country and humankind its citizens." He taught that religion and science should exist in harmony. Religion without science is superstition. Science without religion is materialism, he would preach. He sought to unite the religions of the East and the West in the new Baha'i faith. Of particular importance to his message was the unity. His message of unity was the spiritual imperative of fighting prejudice and the subjugation of women. He wrote profusely on all matters of religion and life, and his many books and letters form most of the corpus of the sacred texts of this tradition. He also developed the spiritual exercises that are the foundation of the faith. His later successor formed the political structures that govern the contemporary Baha'i faith. Today, there are reported to be nearly 200,000 members of the Baha'i faith in the United States, so a similar size to Unitarian Universalism. But there's also around 600 million members of the faith globally. Now, I first encountered the Baha'i faith while I was studying religion in India while in seminary. My friends and I were drawn to the famous Lotus Temple in Delhi. It's shaped like a giant flower that's floating atop the pools of water that surround it. Entering the temple complex for worship, we were greeted by the symbols of all the world's religions. Sounds familiar, right? Beautiful music and a spacious sanctuary with rows of chairs and a lectern. We soon learned that there were no professional clergy and no sermons. What a relief. Worship in the Baha'i temples consisted only of music, prayer, and readings from the sacred texts of the world's religions, and teachings of the Bab and Baha'u'llah. The inclusivity and simplicity of it was beautiful, and it left a lasting impression on all of us. That experience would catalyze my interest in studying this faith in the subsequent decades. Already identifying as a Unitarian Universalist for years at that point, I thought this religion would be well suited to dialogue with our liberal religious tradition. It had the interreligious spiritual depth that so many Unitarian Universalists appreciate. Sadly, I soon discovered that our tradition had become a refuge for people leaving the Baha'i faith because of their harmful exclusion of queer people, the prohibition of women in the most senior leadership positions of the faith, and for a variety of other reasons. Today, there's a small movement of Unitarian Universalist Baha'is who are rejected by the faith's hierarchy. Indeed, there are others, even some in our own community, who identify with both traditions. Reverend Kakanza and I wanted to share this service today, introducing the Baha'i faith, to enhance our multicultural and multi-religious appreciation, and also to imagine a future in which our sacred traditions are in dialogue with one another. We share many of the same aspirations for humanity, and we are among the only multi-faith traditions in existence. We have so much to learn from each other as siblings in faith. I dream of a future in which the Baha'i faith learns from the progressive history and radical inclusion of our tradition, and we learn from the progressive history and deep spirituality of their tradition. We offer this service as another prayer to that end.
I want to talk with you this morning about why I am a Baha'i. I learned about the Baha'i faith when I was 15. My boyfriend's father was a Baha'i, and one day I was talking with him in the garden, asking him questions about the world, and he said, "I've got a book I want you to read." And it was just a little teeny book, and it was about the Baha'i faith. And I go, whoa, I really like this. So I got kicked out of Sunday school when I was 16, and I think I told you that story. And I told my mother I would become a Baha'i, and she said, "No, you won't." But it was planted deeply within me. And then years went by, and I was getting ready for the revolution. And it wasn't until I left the commune and decided I was going to have a real life in the United States that the idea of being a Baha'i returned. And so in my early 20s, I became a Baha'i. And the reason that the Baha'i resonated with me, the Baha'i faith, the principles of the Baha'i faith resonated so much are these. One, the oneness of God. Baha'is believe that there is but one God. Many experiences, many names, but one God. The oneness of humanity, that we're not this people and that people and that people, we are one human race. And that really set with my ideas of social justice and my understanding of the humanity and the human race. The oneness of religion. I never understood why there were so many different religions. And what Baha'is believe is that there is unity in religion, that when each religion has a spiritual message and a cultural message, a spiritual message which is the same and carries the same themes from one religion to the next, and a cultural message which gives people guidance for how to live. So the cultural message is for the people in that time. Baha'is also believe in something called progressive revelation. And that means that there is connectedness from one prophet to another, from the founder of one faith to another. So it was the same God who sent Moses and Abraham, and who sent Jesus, and who spoke to the Buddha, and who spoke to the people from the prophets, the founders of many different religions, and that progressively gave, again, the same spiritual message, different cultural messages, and that this message has become a bit more complex because humanity has become more complex. But this idea of progressive revelation, that God continues to reveal God's self to God's people. Then there is equality of women and men. I grew up in the 60s, and so the equality of women and men was really, really big for me in my coming of age. And to hear a religion who talks about the equality of women and men, when today there are churches that will not allow women to stand at the pulpit or even stand on the bema in the chancel, equality of women and men was really important. And then there's harmony of religion and science. So what is said is that science and religion, two wings of the same bird. One provides data and information and facts, and the other seeks to explain the mystery. Compulsory education for all. I have never understood why even in the United States, a country as wealthy and advanced as it is, does not provide for education for all of its people. So compulsory education for all people all over the world, what a difference our world would be when that becomes so. And then tied to that is the use of a universal language, not giving up whatever language reflects your culture and your people, but adding to your language with one that is spoken by all people. And what has been advocated for by many Baha'is is Esperanto, the language Esperanto. Then other principles include elimination of the extremes of wealth and poverty and an independent investigation of truth. Doesn't that sound familiar to us, UUs? So my deep disappointment was that there was no clergy, because I always wanted to be clergy, but independent investigation of truth. You do the readings. You are responsible for learning and growing in your faith. You are responsible for the interpretation and understanding of what this mystery that we call God has for you. And so that's why I became a Baha'i. I was impressed with the plans for a Baha'i governance. There was the founder, Baha'u'llah, who passed on as the holder of the faith to his grandson, Abdul Baha, who then passed on the responsibilities of governance and administration to his grandson, Shoghi Effendi. And so the form of governance and consultation, very, very democratic, very grassroots, on the ground. And so there are local spiritual assemblies and national spiritual assemblies, a universal house of justice, and the main mode of solving problems and creating activities for the community and for service are through consultation. And so that is why I became a Baha'i and was a practicing Baha'i for many years. I am not a practicing Baha'i. I am a card-carrying Baha'i, but I am no longer a practicing Baha'i for a number of reasons. So I went to the feasts and fireside. The feasts are the monthly meetings, and the fireside are the meetings that are open to the public that are part of the religious education. But there were a couple of things that made it difficult for me to remain a practicing Baha'i. And that was, there's no place for created families. For example, if you are adopted, when you get married, the expectation is that if you can, you will find your biological parents. Marriage requires permission from parents, and regardless of how horrible your parents may have been, or the fact that your parents gave you up for whatever reason, the teaching is that you find your biological parents and get their permission. And if you don't get their permission, then you don't get married. There was no place for created family, for the people who served as the loving parents and guardians. There's no place for gender diversity and no acceptance of queer communities. And I always said that I am not going to be in a place that is not large enough for all of my friends to come with me. If I can't bring all of the people that I love, then I'm not going. And so I went to the local spiritual assembly and said, I'm turning in my membership card. I am relinquishing my membership in the Baha'i faith, which meant that I was relinquishing my responsibility and privilege of giving to the faith because they only accept money from members. So then local spiritual assembly went to the national spiritual assembly and to consult and said, Kikanza wants to give back her card. What do we do? And the National Spiritual Assembly said, ask her if she still believes that Baha'u'llah is the most recent manifestation of God. They asked me and I said, well, yeah, of course. They said, well, here's your card back because you are still a Baha'i. So that's why I still carry my membership card with some pride and some grace. So if I'm a card carrying Baha'i and I was ordained by the Presbyterian Church, why am I here in a UU congregation? It's really important to me that people understand this. And probably the person who best describes what it is that brings me here is Dirk Ficke. Reverend Dirk Ficke was ordained, like me, by the Presbyterian Church USA. He also served for many years as the executive director of the World Parliament of Religions. At a peace conference, he talked about different approaches to religion and different ways people understand religion in the world. And he talked about pluralism. I call myself a trans-traditionalist, transcends any particular religion and uses, accepts, understands practices from many different pathways. Ficke calls this, the Reverend Ficke calls this pluralism, and this is what he says. Pluralism helps us become honest about our choices. Imagine a holy place ringed with windows, and light is shining from outside this holy place through stained glass windows into the holy place. The light is the truth, the windows are religions, and the holy place is the world. Light shines from outside through the windows into the holy place in the same way religions are a vehicle by which truth comes into the world. The window is not the light, and religions need to be distinguished from the truth that they let into the world and the space that they create for people coming to understand those truths. Unfortunately, we spend a lot of time mistaking the window for the light. My job as a trans-traditional minister is to be a trans-traditional window for the light. We are a community that works for more than ourselves. This month, we pledge 50% of our offerings to the organization Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, or CLU. CLU brings together clergy and lay leaders of all faiths with workers, immigrants, and low-income families in the cause of a just economy that works for all and protects those most vulnerable. Our second UU principle is justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and the work of CLU is committed to that UU principle. In addition to giving to CLU, 50% of what we gather will be given to CLU. The other 50% goes to the general fund of our church, and we encourage you to give to that fund as well. We're not worshiping in our buildings, nor can any of the rooms on our campus be used by the groups that have met here for many, many years. So if you are able, and we know that some of you are not, please give to help keep our work and the work of this church going. There are 3 ways to give: over text, through our website, or by mailing a check. So using your smartphone, you can text 844-982-0209. And in the text, you'll indicate the donation amount and the code that will tell us where the funds should go. And the primary code is GCC, Generous Congregation Contribution. Or there's a QR code on your screen, and you can use that. Just hold your smartphone up to the QR code, and it'll take you right to the website. On the website, you can make a one-time donation, or you can set up recurring payments for your pledge or for another purpose. However you give, whatever you give, your giving makes a big difference, and we thank you.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are free.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are free.
In the Talmud of the Jewish tradition, the sage Hillel said, "What is hateful to you, do not do to others. This is the whole of the law. All the rest is commentary."
In the Hindu legend of the Mahabharata, the divine Krishna declared, "This is the sum of duty. Do nothing unto others which would cause you pain if done to you."
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are free.
In the Gospel of Matthew, in the Christian scriptures, the Messiah Jesus says, "Whatever you wish that others would do to you, do so to them."
In the Buddhist text of the Udana Varga, the student is urged, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful.
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea. All lifted hearts are free.
In the Muslim hadith of al-Nawawi, the Prophet Muhammad teaches, "No one of you is a believer until they desire for their sibling what they desire for themselves."
In the Taishan Treatise of Taoism, The seeker is instructed. Regard your neighbor's gain as your gain, and your neighbor's loss as your own loss.
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
Many waters run wide, many waters run wide, all lifted hearts are free.
In the ancient wisdom of Shinto, there is a saying, the heart of the person before you is a mirror. See there your own form.
The Oglala Lakota spiritual leader Black Elk wrote, all things are our relatives. What we do to everything, we do to ourselves.
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
Many windows were light, many waters once wide, all lifted hearts are free.
Shanti, Shalom, Hasiti, Salam, Hewa, Dohi, Pax, Pacomir. 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 Shanti, Shalom, Hasiti, Salam, Hewa, Dohi, Pax, Pacomir.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
May you go in peace, hold fast to that which is good, return to no person evil for evil, strengthen the faint of heart, support the weak, help the afflicted, honor all beings. Go and be blessed and be a blessing.